Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, this is my YouTube channel, Thinks, where I talk about all things health anxiety related. So please subscribe if you haven't done so already, so you can keep up to date with my videos. I wanted to talk about, I guess, the biggest theme of my health anxiety that I dealt with over the years. And for me, although I've worried about many different conditions, some of them super rare, some of them just outright random, but for me, the biggest theme was cancer. And with my journey with health anxiety, I have genuinely, honestly, I think there's not many cancers that I haven't at some stage thought that I've had. And that's where it started off for me. It started off when I thought I had lymphoma. I've thought I've had lymphoma, leukemia, what else? And out of the solid organ cancers, breast, thyroid, bowel, vulva. I've thought I've had sarcomas. I thought I've had pancreatic cancer, bile duct cancer, liver cancer, stomach cancer, anal cancer, what else? Sinus cancer, cancer in my eye, skin cancer, that was another one, multiple myeloma. Honestly, like it's insane. Like at some stage I genuinely have like almost been convinced of having all of them. And I think for me and a lot of others who have this big cancer phobia and worry about cancer, is that any symptom, literally any symptom, could theoretically be cancer, because there's so many different types of cancer. Like it affects can affect every area of your body. So you can take any symptom and your mind can morph it into you having cancer. And that for me, brain tumor as well, I can't believe I forgot that one. That for me was just insanely difficult, because I went through this phase of like 2 years of whatever the symptom was, I would link it to cancer. And sometimes it would be like, oh, well, maybe it's because this cancer is spread to the brain now, and that's why I'm getting headaches along with my, bladder issues or whatever. That just reminded me, bladder cancer, cervical cancer, those were another two. So it's beyond exhausting living like that all the time. And I lived like that, like I said, for a couple of years, and it just became so depressing. And for health anxiety sufferers as well, it's really hard when we see all of the awareness, and it's amazing. Don't get me wrong, the awareness is amazing, but for people with health anxiety, when we're seeing the awareness and all of these leaflets and make sure you catch it early and all of this kind of stuff, well, that really messes with us then, and the safety behaviours, because we end up convincing ourselves that all of these checks that we're doing, all of the Googling that we're doing, is us being responsible. And that was like the hardest thing in the world for me, is that I wanted to stop feeding the anxiety, but there was this large part of me that was like, yeah, but if you stop and you be irresponsible, you're going to miss something, and then you'll be stage 4 by the time you're diagnosed. And letting go of that was the hardest thing I've ever done. The hardest thing in the world, because I was basically putting myself in these uncertain waters, right? And us with health anxiety, we don't like that. We want to try and problem solve everything. We want to try and control things that are sometimes inevitable. But I ended up asking myself this question. Like, I could go through life just thinking that I've got every kind of cancer and preparing myself. I see this a lot with my clients. They say they want to feel prepared. Let's be brutally honest. You can't prepare for cancer. You can't. No amount of worrying that you'll do now will prepare you for any potential cancer in the future. It won't. It doesn't work like that. Cancer is the kind of thing that when you get it, you go through various stages. First, it's shock and anger. Then there's, it's like going through the stages of grief, and eventually you come to kind of acceptance and you kind of get on with it. So we can't change that, and no amount of Googling now is going to change how we're going to feel in 40, 50 years time, if that ever happened. So letting go of that fear for me was very, very difficult, because I felt like I was putting myself in a vulnerable situation, but it was the best thing I did. It was the best thing that I did. And don't get me wrong, I still do worry about cancer. And, you know, if I see a triggering story online, you know, my mind might ruminate over it for a little bit. But more often than not, I'm able to put it down, because what we need to remember is that, yes, whilst cancer is a common condition, and, you know, they say there's 1 in 3 chance of us getting it, or wherever it is, but a lot of us who are worrying about it are A, young, B, we've already had tests and we've been to the doctors, C, we're worrying about crazy, you know, obscure cancers that are very, very rare, and we just don't seem to see that when we're worried. We don't see all of that, right? We forget about the fact that, like, I don't know, it might be a 21-year-old male worrying about breast cancer, even though he's being checked at the doctor. That's where the health anxiety just comes completely illogical. And that's exactly how I was. You know, I would worry. I remember worrying about bile duct cancer, and I went to the doctors, and you know, I was utterly convinced. And he had a little look online. He's like, Sherelle, he was like, there's never actually been a case of a woman having bile duct cancer of your age. And I still thought I had it though, you know, classic health anxiety. But the fear of cancer is a difficult one, because like I said, we have this fear of, like, if we don't catch it soon, it's going to end up, you know, rifling through our whole body. There's a lot of awareness around it. It feels like every time you go onto Instagram or TikTok, there's some young person dying of cancer. So it's quite heavy. It's heavy to hold. But we can think about it this way. We can live a life worrying about cancer every single day and not enjoy ourselves, or we can try, and it's not easy, not implying it's easy, but we can try and let that fear go and just kind of try and just plod on with our lives anyway. And maybe one day in the distant future, when we're old, maybe we do get unwell. But I would rather have lived my life and then get cancer when I'm later than worried about getting cancer for my entire life and then get it anyway. And I'm not implying that it's just easy just to switch that worry off, because for me, it was the hardest thing in the world, and it took months and months and months of me trying to recover to get to the place where I am now. And like I said, it's not that I'm not scared of cancer anymore. It's a scary thing. There's nothing not scary about it. But I've learned to just put that fear down and to deal with the fear and to hold it and say, yeah, I can see it's scary, but I'm not going to sit here and convince myself of having it. I'm not going to Google every single symptom. I'm not going to check my body multiple times a day, because I'm driving that fear. And what I want to do actually is the complete opposite. I want to learn to live with uncertainty and build up my emotional resilience. So it's definitely a tricky journey. It was one of the hardest things I ever did. But I just want to put out this video to say that if you are worried about cancer, or you have this intense theme of cancer in your health anxiety journey, that I get it. I know how it is. I genuinely went, you know, it was back to back to back various cancers that I thought I had. And it was mentally and physically exhausting and just draining. So, you know, I really, truly do understand. And you can, I promise you can learn to live with this fear. It's just going to take some commitment on your half. And that's often really, really hard, because when we think we're dying every day, we kind of end up self-sabotaging. I was the biggest of that. I used to self-sabotage everything. But once I got out of my own way, I started to see the light a little bit. So I hope that this video was helpful, or at least comforting to know that you're not the only one, and that I've also been there and I've got through it. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. If you want to find me on Instagram, where I post a ton of, well, it's all health anxiety content, loads and loads of reels and loads of informative little posts, follow me, and the username is the same as the one on here, @SherelleThinks. If you want to inquire and apply for one-to-one health anxiety coaching with myself, there will be a link in the description of this bio. If you click on that, it will take you to my website, and you fill in a little form, and basically I will receive your application and get back to you if there's any space. So take care, guys, and I will see you soon. Bye.